There's a bit of Roman in all of us. Colosseum, Rome's Arena of Death, Monday at 9 on BBC One.
I've got a huge stack of unread books. The three of you should tell me what books I should first read.
Catch-22.
Yeah.
Oh, Catch-22 is so a bloke's book.
Is it really?
You should read Rebecca. That is an amazing book.
All these great books. I think all in all it's a good list. There's
something for everyone, which is fantastic.
Whatever you've read, join me, Clive Anderson, as we uncover the nation's top 21 books and begin the search for your favourite. The Big Read next Saturday at 9:05 on BBC Two.
For news and sport now on BBC One with Matthew Umraliwala and Mary Rhodes.
Written warnings for the plotters trying to undermine Ian Duncan Smith. The Tory leader takes on the rebels accused of trying to oust him. Remembering the Bali bombings, British relatives arrive to mark the first anniversary. No talk of a strike now as England celebrate in Turkey. While a single goal for Scotland puts them into the playoffs for Euro 2004. Good evening. Rebel Conservative MPs suspected of plotting against Ian Duncan Smith face written warnings from the party leadership. Up to 10 Tory MPs will be summoned before the party's chief whip to explain their actions. But tonight, one MP has demanded a vote of confidence in Mr Duncan Smith's leadership. Here's our political correspondent, Carol Walker.
His big conference speech and a new aggressive tone were supposed to put an end to the sniping over his leadership. Yet Ian Duncan Smith has had to threaten formal warnings to those he accuses of undermining the party. The only one to be named so far is John Maples, a former Shadow Foreign Secretary. He's described the public summons as outrageous and denies being involved in any plot.
I said, have you been in any smoke-filled locked doors, smoke-filled rooms behind locked doors discussing how you can overthrow the leader? And he says, categorically no. I said, it's good enough for me, John.
This is David McLean, the chief whip in charge of party discipline, who'll be calling in the suspected plotters. Up to 10 Tory MPs will be summoned for private interviews and asked if they've been collecting signatures for a leadership challenge. If their replies are not satisfactory, they'll receive written warnings, and copies will be sent to their local constituency parties, who can choose who represents them at the next election. The strategy worked out here at Conservative Central Office is a gamble. The idea is to stop any moves against Ian Duncan Smith gaining momentum, but it could backfire, with the malcontents deciding they've got nothing left to lose and might as well get on with some real efforts to trigger a leadership contest. One of the leader's most outspoken critics says the plan won't work.
There is only one way to bring that speculation about the leadership to an end. It's to have a vote of confidence, and then either give Ian the vote of confidence and then the authority to know that his position is secure, or to get on and choose a new leader.
Ian Duncan Smith is still under real pressure to show some effective opposition and an upturn in the Tories' poll ratings, and that's not easy with a disunited party. Carol Walker, BBC News, Westminster.
And Carol Walker is with me now. Carol, potentially fresh problems for Ian Duncan Smith in tomorrow's newspapers. Just tell us a little more.
Yes, that's right. Tonight we're hearing further allegations concerning the running of Ian Duncan Smith's office, where his wife Betsy was employed for some months after he became party leader. Now, the Sunday Telegraph is reporting that a dossier on all this has been sent to the Parliamentary Standards Commissioner for him to investigate whether any rules have been broken. But I should say that Ian Duncan Smith himself has strongly denied the suggestions. He's saying that it's all a smear campaign against him. When there were rumours about this last weekend, he said that he would sue anyone who made such an allegation. So it seems that he may well be prepared to fight hard to defend his reputation.
OK, Carol, thanks very much. A large-scale security operation has prevented any trouble during England's Euro 2004 qualifying match against Turkey. The match ended in a draw, enough to put England through, but 45 England fans who made the journey to Istanbul were deported and several others were arrested at the stadium gates. From Istanbul, Ben Brown has sent this report.
Turkish supporters may have left the ground tonight disappointed with their team's performance, but the authorities here are delighted with theirs. No trouble, just a handful of arrests and a vindication of the ban on all England fans from coming here. Before the match, police frisked supporters and checked they had not only tickets but also Turkish identity papers. They detained some English fans who had dressed in Turkish colours in an attempt to get into the game. Other supporters from England seemed perplexed when police led them away.
As far as I'm concerned, you have a right to watch a football match in any country you choose to watch in. It just so happens I'm English and I follow England.
More than 40 England fans arrived back at Heathrow Airport today after being deported from Turkey, furious with the way they'd been treated.
And they just locked us up as soon as we got there, and they just put us in a sort of holding room.
I don't think, we should be allowed to go out there to support our team. So I think it's rank out of order.
Back at Istanbul's Fenerbahce Stadium, police were cracking down hard on Turkish ticket touts as well as England fans. There were a few angry scenes, but none of the violence that some people had predicted. And in central Istanbul tonight, all is quiet on the streets where 3 years ago, 2 Leeds United fans were stabbed to death. The tactics of keeping England fans out of the stadium and out of the city have been draconian, but they've also been successful in making sure that a potentially explosive fixture has passed off peacefully. Ben Brown, BBC News, Istanbul.
And we'll have a full report on the match and the other home nation games later in this programme. Now, Syria has warned Israel it's prepared to retaliate if any further military raids are launched inside its territory. It follows last weekend's Israeli airstrike near Damascus. Israel responded by saying any state which harbours terrorists is a legitimate target. Our correspondent Jeremy Cook is in Jerusalem now. Jeremy, how worrying are these new exchanges, do you think?
Well, Matthew, I don't think we're on the verge of open warfare between Israel and Syria tonight, but this is significant. The Syrians are still obviously furious about Israel's airstrike on their territory last week. The fact is, though, they simply don't have the military muscle to do very much about it. That said, though, the Syrians are in effective control of Hezbollah fighters in southern Lebanon. What I would expect to see over the next few days and weeks is perhaps an increase in tension on Israel's northern border, with an increase in the number of Hezbollah attacks across that border. Perhaps the most worrying aspect of all of this, though, is that more Arab countries might be sucked in on the side of Syria, and with the United States so publicly backing the Israeli position, there is the potential for a serious and international standoff.
And briefly, we've seen more hardline action by the Israelis today.
We have. They've been in the Rafah refugee camp in the Gaza Strip, the third day of operations there. Now, the Israelis say they've gone into this civilian area to find tunnels which have been dug across the few meters to the Egyptian border, tunnels which they say have been used to smuggle arms and ammunition. But many Palestinian civilians have been caught up in the fighting. Several, including one 8-year-old boy, have been killed. And many of these people, already refugees, have been made homeless all over again, Matthew.
Jeremy there in Jerusalem, thanks very much. The US military has arrested 14 Iraqis in raids against supporters of Saddam Hussein. The raids took place in the so-called Sunni Triangle, where support for the old regime is strongest. Officers entered houses in Saddam's hometown of Tikrit, and in the town of Bakuba, they arrested suspected members of the Fedayeen militia.
Crashing in uninvited, US troops strike at the heart of the area most loyal to Saddam. These targets, suspected training bases for militants, centres for planning attacks against the coalition, for storing weapons and raising funds. It's a daily battle in what the coalition calls a low-intensity war. This time, the US won. And as darkness fell, more surprise visits. Now in Tikrit, Saddam's old power base. These were house-to-house raids. Even children's bedrooms, possible hiding places for militant secrets. 4 suspects seized. This man had served in Saddam's most feared secret police squad. His capture expected to bring valuable intelligence. Intelligence gathering and raids are key weapons for the coalition. Attacks against them are getting better planned and more sophisticated. And the focus now is on trying to tighten the net and catch militants before they strike. One of the latest attacks in Fallujah. troops face about 20 every day. Here a hand grenade was thrown at a military convoy, but as often happens, the injured were innocent passers-by. Jill McGivering, BBC News, Baghdad.
The Archbishop of Birmingham has said the Roman Catholic Church in Britain still has a lot to learn about dealing with allegations of child sex abuse. Most Reverend Vincent Nichols was speaking in response to a survey of Catholic priests which highlighted concerns about the issue. Police hunting a serial sex attacker in Weston-super-Mare fear he may have struck again. A woman in her late 30s was assaulted in the early hours of this morning while walking alone. 6 other women have been attacked in the town recently. Families of those who died in the Bali bombings have gathered there for services to mark the first anniversary of the terrorist attack. More than 200 people died, including 28 Britons, after 2 explosions ripped through a packed nightclub on the holiday island. Kylie Morris reports now from Bali.
Wiping away the tears 1 year on. Balinese. Australians caught in a circle of grief in the very place where the car bomb wrought its horror. It took the island's innocence in one short moment and robbed the lives of so many.
On the eve of the anniversary, people have come here from all over the world in defiance of the travel ban still applied to Bali because of security risks. But they've wanted to come to show they remember what happened here.
As late as yesterday, Gerald O'Shea wasn't coming, terrified by the prospect of seeing the place where his daughter Jodie was taken from him.
Oh, I just couldn't accept it. And in the end, I just dared I wouldn't get up, I wouldn't get out of bed, because I couldn't face the day. So now, the move here, I've got to face up to things and try and, although I will never forget her, but I don't want to throw life away just like this. I've got to get an ambition and get a reason for living again.
Tony and Sharon Perkins from Sheffield have also come to Bali to face up to what happened. They lost their daughter Natalie and their niece Laura that night. The girls had been on a round-the-world trip.
We don't want the girls to be forgotten. It's desperate for us to be here. It's our girls, and we can never forget them. They're going to be with us for the rest of our lives. My daughter's 20-year-old and she'll always be 20. Laura's 18. She'll always be 80. Always be with us.
For the families of British victims, there was a private memorial service. A chance to remember their loved ones in the island paradise they never returned from. Kylie Morris, BBC News, Bali.
A US Army officer who worked as a Muslim chaplain at the Guantanamo Bay detention camp in Cuba has been charged with improperly handling classified information. Captain James Yee is accused of contravening orders by taking home sensitive documents. An operation to separate 2-year-old conjoined twins is underway in the United States. Ahmed and Mohammed Ibrahim have separate brains but share an important vein. Doctors say the operation is risky, but the twins' father hopes it'll give them the chance of a normal life. Now with news of tonight's European qualifying matches and the rest of today's sport, here's Mary Rhodes. Mary.
Thanks very much, Matthew. Well, celebrations tonight for England and Scotland, mixed emotions for Wales, but disappointment for Ireland in the Euro 2004 qualifiers. England drew 0-0 in a heated encounter with Turkey. That point was enough to take England through as group winners to the European Championship finals in Portugal next year.
England arriving amid rumours that Sven could be about to wave goodbye to his job. And in this intimidating stadium, the omens were looking bad for his team, pitched against tough opposition and a hostile crowd. But England were spurred on by the jeers, Wayne Rooney quickly causing problems. And then Steven Gerrard earning a penalty. Up stepped David Beckham, only to stumble and balloon the ball into the top tier. The captain furious. Moments later, he appeared to headbutt a Turkish defender. England were on top, Paul Scholes firing just wide, but tempers were fraying. At the interval, the teams traded blows in the tunnel. The second half saw England sit back and Turkey launch attack after attack. Shuker's header just off target. England did still threaten on the break thanks to Darius Vassell, but in the final minute came a final chance for Turkey. It went wide and England went wild.
I knew the players were strong and were together, but last week surprised me a lot the way the players come together and the character they showed, and tonight it's just, it's proved to the nation hopefully that we are proud to wear our shirt, we are proud to be out there for our country and fighting for each other.
So England qualify and Sven smiles, somehow seizing success from a week of chaos.
So Adam, a point was all they needed, but how difficult was it for England tonight?
Well, after the rancorous week that English football has had, I don't think many people expected a beautiful game here, and they didn't get one. This was full of tension, full of niggly fouls, a fracas in the tunnel at half-time, and at the end, almost unbearable tension and excitement as Turkey looked for that goal and England hung on for dear life. Not a particularly pretty match, but for England, an absolutely golden point to take them into the European Championships.
So does this result now finally draw a line underneath all those tensions that we've witnessed this week?
I don't think it does, because we're hearing rumours from the England camp that while they're delighted about this draw, the tensions continue unabated. People are saying that there is now something like civil war going on within English football. Why? Well, tensions between the players and the Football Association over the Rio Ferdinand affair, tensions between the FA and Manchester United, the Professional Footballers Association. We're hearing that the FA is going to conduct a review into how the Ferdinand affair was handled on their side, and that both United and the PFA are furious about this. I think this row will continue. The England side very happy tonight, but this could still be a bad and difficult week for English football.
OK, Adam Parsons in Istanbul, thanks very much. Now, Darren Fletcher won't have to buy a drink for a while. His goal put Scotland through to the playoffs. The Manchester United teenager scored the only goal of the game against Lithuania at Hampden Park. Germany's win over Iceland ensured Scotland finished second in the group.
Scotland's own three tenors led the Tartan Army in song, recreating Hampden's famous Wall of Noise. For Scotland, only a win would do, and Lithuania had beaten them earlier in the group. The first half was a scrappy affair, with a heart-stopping moment as Barasa almost gave Lithuania the lead. After the break, Scotland were better and went desperately close from McFadden's corner. Then James McFadden and Gary Naismith prized Lithuania open. The volley from substitute Darren Fletcher was his first ever goal for club or country.
Unbelievable, like a dream come true to score the winner at Hampden and to get us into the playoffs for the European Championships, just brilliant.
Great result. We had to wait a long time in it coming, but what a relief.
Struggled a wee bit, but we got the result, that's the main thing there.
As so often in the past, Scotland made their supporters suffer. For more than an hour it was anxious, nervy stuff. Then a fine goal from young Darren Fletcher, just 19. And so, for the Tartan Army, the adventure goes on. Colin Blaine, BBC News at Hampden Park.
Wales were already guaranteed a place in the playoffs ahead of their match tonight. They were beaten 3-2 by Serbia and Montenegro in Cardiff. Despite that defeat, Wales finished second in Group 9, behind Italy.
It's been a feature of this qualifying campaign that, however erratic their performances, Wales have been supported by a large and enthusiastic following. So the last thing the 70,000 capacity crowd expected to see before many had taken their seats was a Serbian goal. Lukic beating Jones from a free kick at his near post. After that shock, Wales dominated. The combination of Giggs, Bellamy and Hartson wreaking havoc, until Hartson equalised with a penalty after he'd been fouled in the area. Luckily for the Welsh, who were guaranteed second place in the group, tonight's result didn't matter. There were two second-half goals from the Serbs, as the Wales defence was repeatedly exposed. Mark Hughes was not a happy manager. The industrious Robert Earnshaw did score a late consolation for the Welsh, but after a great start to this qualifying campaign, have they finally run out of steam just before the finishing line. So Wales have scraped into next Monday's playoff draw, but their performances of late have been woeful, and qualification for Euro 2004 is still some way off. Willow Davis, BBC News at the Millennium Stadium.
Northern Ireland ended their dismal Euro 2004 campaign with a 1-0 defeat to Greece. They've now gone 14 games without scoring the goal and finished bottom of Group 6, while the Republic of Ireland also failed to make it to Portugal next summer after losing 2-0 in Switzerland. The Republic finished third in Group 10 behind Switzerland and Russia. So 10 teams, including Wales and Scotland, go into the playoffs. The draw will be made on Monday. The first legs take place on the 15th of November, with the return games on the 19th. The winners over the 2 matches go through to the finals. Now, away from all that football, and Ireland enjoyed an emphatic victory in their opening match of the Rugby World Cup. They scored 5 tries in their 45-17 victory over Romania. And one of the tournament favourites, New Zealand, overpowered Italy 70 points to 7, while South Africa crushed Uruguay 72-6, and France beat Fiji 61-18.
Passion and team spirit are synonymous with Irish rugby, and plenty of both were required to suppress a determined Romanian challenge. Ultimately, they were swept aside, though, as Ireland ran in 5 tries to grab the all-important bonus point, captain Keith Wood leading by example, before an injured ankle forced him to leave the field. Injury overshadowed New Zealand's rout of Italy too. Tana Umaga's tangle with Carlos Spencer left the vice-captain with damaged knee ligaments and may have brought a premature end to his World Cup. Nevertheless, this was a dazzling exhibition of running rugby from the All Blacks. Daniel Carter's glide through the seemingly mesmerised Italians released Doug Howlett for the best of their 11 tries, providing proof, if any were needed, of New Zealand's World Cup threat. The Fijians may be renowned for their big hitting, but even they overdid things against France as tempers and elbows flew in the second half. A hat-trick of tries from French centre Yannick Yozion helped break their spirit though and seal an emphatic victory. South Africa also got off to a winning start against the spirited part-timers of Uruguay, captain Hoos van der Westhuizen scoring 3 of their 12 tries to send a clear message to England, their main rivals in Group C. Paul Stainton, BBC News.
And finally, the 2 contenders for the Formula 1 world title are well down the grid for tomorrow's Japanese Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher, who needs just 1 point to become champion, will start in 14th place. His only challenger is Kimi Raikkonen, who has to win Suzuka, and he was 8th fastest. And that's all the sport from me. Matthew.
Mary, thanks very much. Well, the main news tonight, rebel Conservative MPs suspected of plotting against Ian Duncan Smith face written warnings from the party's leadership. And tonight, one Sunday newspaper is reporting fresh allegations about the running of Mr. Duncan Smith's private office. He's strongly denied the allegations and warned of legal action. Well, that's the very latest. There'll be news throughout the night over on BBC News 24. But from all of us here, a very good night.
Good evening. Today's warm sunshine was helped along by very little breeze, such that good parts of central England and the Welsh borders hit nearly 70 Fahrenheit. But there were large parts of the UK, Northern Ireland, a good part of Scotland, and also the Lake District, where it was a miserable day. Not much wind, but a lot of cloud and drizzle. But the bits will be coldest tonight were those that were warmest by day. A touch of frost is possible on the sandy soils of southern England. Tomorrow dawns actually in a very similar way. There'll still be sunshine in the same areas, rather more limited I think, and still a great deal more cloud around the western fringes of England and Wales, Northern Ireland and Scotland. But it's going to be largely dry. We're still waiting for rain, which we will get. One thing you will notice though is a stronger wind. That strength of wind slowly develops over the next few days, but it will be there for the east coast of England, bringing quite possibly persistent cloud from Lincolnshire northwards to the Scottish borders. Jump west over the hills, over the Pennines, and the Lake District should be much sunnier, as will be Lancashire during tomorrow. That also extends to Northern Ireland and southern Scotland, and a good part of Wales and the southwest of England. A few showers here might bring some useful rain, but they'll be pretty rare. There'll be drizzle in northern Scotland. The temperatures, much the same, will feel rather less so because they'll be tempered by a breeze. Now, this wind is quite important for the next few days. It will get stronger and stronger from the same direction. And given that we're taking away the sunshine and bringing in some rain, it's quite possible that Tuesday in particular will feel a pretty miserable day, more likely to be like autumn.
Don't risk a splendid career.
I have support for this at the highest level.
You're in for a shock when you find out what you're being asked to lie for. Silent Witness concludes tomorrow at 9 on BBC One. We're human beings and we shouldn't be living in filth. It's a health hazard.
It's like rearing a baby. Of course I love him. He's beautiful.
Rat Attack, a community divided by four-legged visitors. From everyday life comes one life. Wednesday at 10:35 on BBC One.
Before Parkinson on BBC One, tonight's lottery news. In the main lotto draw, the winning numbers are 3, 6, 11, 20, 34, 43, and the bonus number is 36. It looks like there are 2 lucky winners tonight, each winning just over £2.5 million. The lotto extra numbers are 8, 20, 34, 35, 39 and 47. No winning tickets tonight, so the jackpot for the next draw will be an estimated £4.3 million. In the daily play draw for today, which was witnessed in front of an independent auditor, the 7 winning numbers are 3, 4, 9, 13, 14, 21 and 23. Early indications show there are no lucky jackpot winners tonight. Finally, the Thunderball numbers 6, 18, 19, 28, 33 and the Thunderball was 6. There is 1 lucky jackpot winner.
Here's a question. Do you read books, William?
Well, I'm about to read...
Gone with the Wind. Has anybody actually read it? Yeah.
I have.
Was it a good read?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
So I must get round to that one.
I loved Black Beauty when I was young.
I knew you would. You look like the type that would.
Whatever you've read, join me, Clive Anderson, as we uncover the nation's top 21 books and begin the search for your favourite. The Big Read next Saturday at 9:05 on BBC Two.